In 1935, one of the oldest civilizations on Earth erased its own name from the map. Persia disappeared. The world barely noticed. Most people think this was just a political decision, but the real story involves Nazi Germany, ancient identity, and a decision that unexpectedly saved thousands of Jewish lives. This is the story of how Persia became Iran. Let's start at the beginning. Persia was never an Iranian word. The label was always foreign. The ancient Greeks named this magnificent civilization after Pars, a minor province in the southwest, when they first came upon it. That became Persis in Greek, Persia in Latin. However, the nation's citizens have always used an entirely different word, Duran. The name is derived from an old phrase that means land of the noble people. It can be found in Zoroastrian texts from approximately 1000 BC. Ancient kings inscribed it into stone inscriptions. The earliest Persian poetry included it. The inhabitants of the region referred to it as Iran for 2,500 years. Simply put, the outer world never paid attention. The story of why that matters starts with the biggest empire the ancient world has ever created. Everything changed in 550 BC thanks to a man by the name of Cyrus. He was the founder of the Achaemenid Empire, and what he built was unlike anything that had existed before. His empire ruled about 44% of the world's population at its height. That figure has never been surpassed by any empire in human history. Not in Rome, not the Mongols, not the Empire of Britain. But however, Cyrus's dominion was not the only thing that made him genuinely remarkable. The things that made him genuinely remarkable was the way he controlled things. Cyrus took a drastic measure. In contrast to other ancient conquerors who set towns on fire and enslaved people, he defended captured people's temples. He revered their deities. Within his realm, he permitted the survival of several languages and customs. The Jewish people who had been imprisoned in Babylon were set free when he seized the city. He is referred to as a Messiah in the Hebrew Bible, not an intruder, a liberator. The first postal road system in history was constructed by his empire. It produced the Cyrus cylinder, the earliest known written assertion of human rights, which is currently housed in the British Museum in London. The Greeks referred to this civilization as Persia, and they were afraid of it. However, no empire endures forever. A young Macedonian king with a disciplined army and a burning ambition entered Persian territory in 334 BC. Alexander was his name. He wasn't 30 years old yet. Alexander destroyed the Persian army in a series of catastrophic engagements. He marched into the heart of the empire, Persepolis, and set it on fire. According to some historians, it was an intentional act of retribution. Some claim it took place amid an inebriated party. In any case, the greatest symbol of Persian culture was reduced to rubble and ash. However, Alexander's actions startled his own generals. He gave up on destroying Persia, and he began attempting to become it. He dressed in Persian garb. He wedded Persian princesses. He kept the posts of Persian administrators. He proclaimed himself the legitimate heir of the Achaemenid kings. His Macedonian and Greek warriors were incensed. Instead of becoming Persia, they had traveled the world to defeat Persia. Their soldiers became more tense. In the shadows, conspiracies developed. But Alexander had realized something crucial. A civilization cannot be subjugated by eradication. The only way to control it is to absorb it. Alexander's empire fell apart when he unexpectedly passed away at the age of 32. Persian identity, however, did not. It dozed off. Then it awoke once more. A powerful Sassanid dynasty established Zoroastrianism as the official state religion and completely restored Persian culture by the 7th century AD. Persia had returned. But no one could stop the way the world was changing. A new force was rapidly moving northward from the Arabian Peninsula. Arab armies flying the Islamic flag overran the ancient world. They overthrew the Sassanid Empire and seized power in Iran in 651 AD. Zoroastrianism was gradually disregarded. Arabic became the official language of the state and religion. Piece by piece, the ancient Persian order was destroyed. Many thought Iranian culture will simply vanish, to be assimilated into the Arab world, as had been the case with many other civilizations. It didn't. Rather, something extraordinary happened. The Iranians appropriated the new religion. They converted to Islam, but they remained Persian. They managed to keep their language. Their poetry was flourishing. Iranian poets, philosophers, and scientists were among the best of the Islamic era. Then, in 1501, a new dynasty called the Safavids made a decision that permanently cut Iran off from the rest of the Islamic world. Shia Islam was imposed as the state religion. This was more than just a religious decision. It was a political tool. It permanently severed Iran from the Sunni Ottoman Empire to its west. It gave Iran a unique identity among the Muslim world, a Persian identity, a Shia identity, distinctively Iranian. But this is where our story takes a turn that very few people know about. We are now in the 20th century.
Additionally, everything you are going to hear is true. Reza Khan, a soldier, took control of Iran in 1925 and proclaimed himself Reza Shah Pahlavi. He was poor from birth. He was raised as an orphan. He could not read or write for the most part. Nevertheless, this individual developed a complete obsession with making Iran a modern country. He examined the actions of Mustafa Kemal Ataturk in Turkey. Nearly overnight, Ataturk transformed a collapsing empire into a contemporary secular state. The same was what Reza Shah desired for Iran. He constructed railroads, he changed the legal system, he brought universities up to date, he outlawed wearing the traditional veil in public. He wished for Iran to be viewed as on par with any European country. And more than anything else, he thought that one thing was preventing his nation from progressing: its name. Reza Shah believed that the term Persia carried a lot of Western connotations. It was used by European writers and diplomats to envision a world of Oriental extravagance, secret harems, and exotic carpets, a vibrant but archaic place, ancient but unrefined. He wanted to get away from that picture. Thus, on December 4th, 1934, his foreign ministry quietly dispatched a circular letter to all of the world's embassies. One thing was stated in the letter: please refer to our nation as Iran going forward. Postage stamps were overprinted during the night. Reprints of government documents were made. One letter marked the official end of 2,500 years of Persian history. This is the portion that will actually surprise you, though. This concept was not developed by Reza Shah alone. Nazi Germany was aggressively expanding its influence throughout the Middle East in the early 1930s. When German operatives and officials arrived in Tehran, they had a very particular message for Reza Shah. Your people are Aryans, was the message. Real Aryans, tied to the German race, not Arabs. They are not Semites. Honorable individuals from a long-standing and great lineage. Make that relationship official by adopting the name Iran, which means land of the Aryans. Reza Shah paid attention. Adolf Hitler himself added a unique exemption to the Nuremberg racial laws in 1936. Officially, Iranians were categorized as honorary Aryans. The racial restrictions imposed on Jews, Roma, and other groups throughout Nazi-controlled Europe did not apply to them. Germany was doing this purely for political reasons. Their goal was to reduce British power in the area. Their strategy was to flatter Iran's racial position. But something unexpected occurred that no one in Berlin had anticipated. Workers at Iranian embassies throughout Europe started discreetly granting Iranian passports to Jewish families under Nazi control. An Iranian passport could shield its bearer from racial laws, since Iranians were categorized as Aryans. Under Nazi bureaucracy, Jews who obtained them passports were no longer categorized similarly. The lives of thousands of Jews were spared due to a name change that was partially orchestrated by the same government that was pursuing them. The course of history is not linear. Now is the time to stop and ask yourself, did you think this story would end this way? Since we haven't finished yet. Reza Shah proclaimed Iran neutral when the Second World War broke out. However, the Allied nations were alarmed by his apparent support for Germany. Iran occupied vital supply lines and oil resources that the Allies sorely needed. Both Soviet and British soldiers invaded Iran at the same time in August 1941. Reza Shah was compelled to abdicate his position of authority. He was banished to South Africa and passed away there 4 years later by himself, far from the nation he had attempted to change. Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi, his little son, succeeded him as Shah. At the 1933 Tehran conference, Winston Churchill himself asked the Iranian authorities if the Allies could refer to Persia throughout the war. This was an almost inconceivable event, not because of the past, because soldiers were misidentifying Iran and Iraq due to their very similar sounds on military radio conversations. Iran graciously declined. The name did not change. Iran and Persia were both permitted to be used worldwide in cultural contexts in 1959 under the new Shah, but Iran continued to be the official name. Then 1979 arrived. The monarchy was overthrown by the Islamic Revolution. Iran became the Islamic Republic of Iran. Relations with the West fell apart. For millions of people, the word Iran no longer suggested ancient poetry and magnificent dynasties. It meant sanctions, conflict, headlines, tension. And an odd thing began to happen. The older name, Persia, started to resurface, not on maps, not in offices of the government, but in the hearts of millions of Iranians who live abroad. Iranians in Toronto, London, and Los Angeles started calling themselves Persian instead of Iranian, not because they denied their heritage, but because they wanted to disassociate themselves from a government they disapproved of. In the 21st century, a name that had been obliterated in 1935 to avoid one type of picture was subtly restored to avoid another. Two names, one land, one people, and an unanswered question. Think about what this story revealed to us. Ancient identity, Nazi diplomacy, and an act of rescue by Iranian embassy staff who prioritized people over politics, all contributed to the name change. It was a remarkable moment when Iranian diplomats gave passports to Jewish families. This is the question we have for you. Do you think that Reza Shah made the right decision in 1935? Should Persia have remained Persia? Or was Iran the more accurate name all along? Please share your thoughts in the comments section. We read them all and would be interested to know what you think. Please click the like button if this story astounded you, as we believe it did. It makes this channel more accessible to people who love learning about the hidden sides of history. And to ensure you never miss another article like this one, subscribe.